Hello, hello. It is me, Raven Willis. I am a business contracts and trademarks attorney. Today, we are going to talk about if you had to choose one contract to start with in your business, which contract should that be? I understand the plight that businesses are in right now. Funds are tight. Contracts are extremely important. So if you only have a certain amount of money to invest into making one contract really good and really tight, which contract should that be? Where is your money going to be best utilized? I'm going to help direct you to an answer from my opinion. And again, I want to make sure everyone understands that this is not legal advice. Obviously, it's going to depend upon your particular circumstance, but I'm going to give you tips for how I direct and guide my clients to choose which contract for my firm to work on for them. The short answer is it's going to depend. That's my answer for literally everything. It's going to depend on what it is that you're selling. And the biggest determining factor, in my opinion, is are you selling a product or are you selling a service? Generally speaking, whatever is making you the most money is really where you should be funneling your money to protect. You have to protect your pipeline. Whatever is making you money, wherever your revenue is coming from, wherever your money may be flowing to. If you are primarily focused on investing, whatever that pipeline is, meaning going out or coming in, the main pipeline, that's what you want to protect. If you sell products, normally that pipeline is going to consist of your website. Most product-based businesses sell via their website directly to their customers. If you sell via Amazon, this probably isn't going to apply to you. If you sell via, third-party platforms, this may not apply to you as much. But if you sell products, again, your pipeline is going to be primarily your website. In my opinion, if you sell products via your website, you need to pay special attention to your website terms and conditions, and specifically your terms of sale. The terms of sale are really important because that governs the conditions on which you make a sale to your customers. It's going to protect you against potential chargebacks. It's going to protect you against potential competitors purchasing your product and reverse engineering it. It's going to protect you against anyone who's going to purchase for reasons other than using it as an individual. And also, website terms and conditions are going to have clauses in there that specify your shipping rates are, potentially what your shipping terms are. If a package gets lost in the mail, who's going to carry the burden of figuring that out or paying for a replacement? But for me, one of the most important features are going to be the restriction of your customers to issue a chargeback. That's where a lot of e-commerce businesses lose a lot of money, is by these fraudulent chargebacks. So it's going to help to prevent that sort of thing from happening. If you are a service-based business and you sell your services, the most important contract from my experience is going to be your services agreement. So whatever it is that you use with your clients, normally it's going to be like an independent contractor agreement. That's going to be the contract that you probably are going to want to invest the most in to tighten up. If you're like me and you're a service provider and you don't actually have an agreement that you put forth in front of people. Actually, I do and I don't. It depends on the service. But some service providers use their website to sell their services. And again, now that's going to be where the most important terms are going to be housed, is on your website terms and conditions. If your client or if your customer is able to make a purchase through your website, then those website terms are going to be important. If your client or your customer is not going to be able to make a purchase through your website and they have to sign an agreement, then that agreement, independent contractor agreement or services agreement, is going to be where you want to focus your effort and focus your investment. Now, for service providers, the most important area in that service agreement or in the independent contractor agreement is going to be, number one, your statement of work, and then also number two, the disputes section, the part that describes how you guys are going to work through a dispute if one arises that really does not involve, hopefully, going to court, because you want to be able to work through a dispute without going nuclear on each other. Now, the statement of work is important because that's what's going to keep a dispute from happening. You want to be able to explain with enough detail what it is that you're going to be providing, so that way you can set the expectations of your client clearly, but you don't want to be too restrictive to where you don't have enough wiggle room to improvise. As a service provider, it's all about basically your brain, and you need to be able to troubleshoot and problem solve, and you need flexibility in order to do that. So I don't recommend statements of work being so rigid to where it doesn't account for that. But at the same time, I feel like it's good to have a certain set of milestones and things like that, so that way they can understand what it is that they expect. Another thing that's really important in statements of work is specifying what it is that you need from your client in order to meet your deadlines. If you have approvals that you need in order to move forward, make sure those are clear and make sure that you have guidelines for the time frame to get those approvals. When I draft contracts, it's a very rigid process, and I require my clients to give me information by a very specific date because I need to be able to turn these products around. I can't have these contract drafting projects drone on for months at a time, because at that point I'm going to lose money. So for me, it's really important to kind of tighten that up and put these milestones and deadlines and requirements in my agreement with my clients, again, so that way I can stay profitable. And for my clients, when I write their contracts, I make sure that I put those things in there as well. Focusing on that area for your statement of work is going to be really important. Making sure, again, you specify what your milestones are and then specifying what is going to be required of your client in order to make your milestones enable you to perform successfully. For both types of companies, let's just say you have your website terms and conditions if you are a product-based business, and let's say you have your professional services agreement if you're a service-based business, and say you're growing wildly and, maybe what's next. The other agreement that I really try to help my clients focus on is your employment agreements. Once you start hiring, you should pay special attention to creating really good and really solid employment agreements, especially for employees that are going to be really high up. You're going to start entrusting them with a lot of information that's going to be confidential. And if it gets into the wrong hands, it can be very detrimental to your business. You don't want that to happen. So, making sure that you have an employment agreement in place is going to help with that. And then on top of that, everybody is sharing everything on social media. I share a lot on social media. However, you don't want your employees sharing your information on social media. You don't want your employees bringing their phone, recording a TikTok video about how ridiculous your company is. So the thing that's going to prevent them from doing that is an employment agreement and or a confidentiality agreement. Making sure that you have one in place with your employees is going to be very, very important. For all businesses, the number one agreement that you're going to want to have in place for every instance is going to be a confidentiality agreement or a non-disclosure agreement. And the reason why I didn't say that one is the first one that you should invest heavily into is because you don't necessarily have to spend a lot of money on an NDA or on a confidentiality agreement. Those contracts are pretty basic. I don't want to say that. Those contracts are pretty consistent. They normally don't require a lot of modifications. So that every company should have in place. Every company should have a non-disclosure agreement or a confidentiality agreement, and get it signed before you start talking to anybody about anything. All of your employees should be signing this. All of your potential collaborators should be signing it, whether they're an employee or say they're another business. Anybody, definitely have them sign an NDA as well. All right, I hope this video was helpful. If it was, make sure you like it and subscribe to my channel and hit the notifications bell so that way you are notified whenever a new video drops. All right, bye.